I'm here with Connor Malloy, who is the campaigns manager for the New Zealand Taxpayers Union. Kia ora, Connor, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Connor, the reason I'm interviewing you is because you are basically a watchdog that looks at how public money is spent and government organisations, what they do with that money. We've just recently the big topic at the moment is about councils and their rates rises that they are setting, and we're looking at some upwards of 23-24%, even more. The Hastings District Council has given us details of their spending on their salary bill, basically, and that bill is up to just under $40 million. You've had a look at these figures. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I think the key thing to note at the moment is that with the cost of living and with a lot of infrastructure challenges in cyclone recovery that the council is facing, now more than ever it's so important that the council looks for every saving they can find so that they can minimize the impact on ratepayers and also have enough money to invest in core infrastructure rather than other nice to haves. So when you look at what the council is spending on their staff salaries, for example, it's increased by $9 million over the past couple of years. More than a quarter of the staff are earning more than $100,000 a year. And so we think that some of that backroom bloat in the council bureaucracy is an obvious area where the council can make savings.
The first thing that the council will say is that in order to run a professional outfit, you need to get professional people, and therefore you need to pay salaries that are commercially competitive. What do you say about that?
I think there is an argument to that if ratepayers are actually seeing a return on their investment and paying more people and paying them higher salaries. If you go around and you ask the ratepayers of Hastings and of the wider Hawke's Bay area, are they seeing higher quality services for their higher rates? The answer that you'll be hearing is no. What you instead see is the council blowing money on nice to haves, such as their recent $70,000 rebrand, which is just on the design cost. They ran working groups and consultations on what color the council should brand themselves. That is not a good use of ratepayers' money. We think that the council should focus on trimming down the fat, particularly around some of their communications staff, and then also just focus on doing the core services well, rather than trying to be an organization that does a bit of everything but not well.
You mentioned communications. They've got 10.6 staff members on an average salary of 90,000. Do you think that is warranted?
Absolutely not. So, the Taxpayers Union, for example, we're an organization, we have around 200,000 subscribed members and supporters. We've got less comm staff than the council does, and we're communicating, on a range of issues across the entire country. We think that there's organizations and other councils, for that matter, that have less comm staff. We think, if the council can focus on core messaging, when rubbish pickup is, if there's any issues with water outages and things like that, that's only one, maybe two maximum. The rest of it is nice to have stuff, such as managing social media and unnecessary other additions that could easily be covered by one person.
All the mayors that I've spoken to in Hawke's Bay say that the problem is that the system of local government is broken, and that you have these large areas with not many ratepayers in them having to foot fairly large bills. What do you say to that? Do you think there is some merit in that argument?
I think that there is definitely some need for systematic reform of the local government space. A lot of mayors and councils across the country pointing towards a more centralized model with amalgamation and the like. But we've seen with Auckland Council, the disastrous results of that. You lose transparency, you lose accountability, and you end up with a big bureaucratic behemoth that ends up costing ratepayers more. We would prefer a more decentralized, more localized model, such as what we see in Switzerland, with amalgamation of certain services where it makes sense. So, for example, maybe it makes sense to have, amalgamated rubbish collection, or for some of the water treatment and things like that. But we don't think wide scale amalgamation. In terms of the funding side, there is a clear issue in local government where local government pays all of the costs of development through infrastructure and roads and all of those services that come with a higher population, whereas central government reaps all the benefits through the income tax of the people that live there, the company tax of the companies that operate, and the vast majority of the fuel tax revenue as well. And so we think that there is a case for GST sharing, for example, is something that's being investigated by the new government. We've polled on that. It's widely supported by a range of organizations across the political spectrum. So we think that that's possibly one way to tie funding from central government to councils to the need for infrastructure from development. And so we think that there is definitely room for reform, but we need to make sure that councils are spending the money that they do have at the moment wisely.
Thank you so much for your time, and we'll speak to you again, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.